Well, what a day it has been so far. The 3 doubles titles all going to pairs, winning their first Super Series title as pairs. Absolutely extraordinary and thrilling matches too. We've just got one more final to come, and it's men's singles. The 37-year-old Lee Hyun of Korea trying to win his second Super Series title 9 years after his first. He's up against the man very much in form in his 4th Super Series tournament final this year, the Indian player and number 8 seed, Srikanth Kidambi. Now, as far as the Super Series standings are concerned, prior to the Japan Open, Srikanth Kidambi was the number 1 on that list. Whether he wins or loses today's final, he will go back to number 1, pushing Son Wan-ho down to number 2. Victor Axelsen, the home player here in Denmark and the newly crowned world champion, will swap places with Shi Wu-chi by virtue of Axelsen's quarter-final place. But of course, Victor Axelsen is guaranteed a place at the Super Series finals as the reigning world champion. Well, as far as the men's doubles draw is concerned, by quarter-final stage, we had 5 different nations involved, and we had 6 different nations involved, I do beg your pardon, and only 4 of the 7 seeds, just 1 in the top half, which was the former world number 1, Son Wan-ho. In the bottom half of the draw, the new world number 1, Victor Axelsen, was drawn against Srikanth Kidambi, and what a match it turned out to be. Well, Wong Wing Ki is still waiting for his first ever final appearance in a Super Series event, but yet again in a semi-final. All Korean battle at the top half of the draw, and it means that the 37-year-old Lee Hyun extends his record as the oldest men's singles finalist in Super Series history. Up against Srikanth Kidambi. It really should be a fascinating encounter.
Ladies and gentlemen, the men's singles finalists. Former world number 1 from Korea, Lee Hyun.
Former world number 1, Lee Hyun, at the age of 37 years, 6 months and 5 days, becomes the oldest men's singles finalist in Super Series history. And for Srikanth Kidambi, it becomes only the 2nd player here at the Denmark Open from India to contest a final. The great Prakash Padukone reached 3 finals, winning the title in 1979, 38 years ago. So can this man end that 38-year wait? Lee Hyun, the left-hander, not seeded. Srikanth Kidambi, the number 8 seed. Jakob Sindberg of Denmark is the umpire for this one. Alan Guru Sobu is the service judge. Well, if he wins today, he will break Lee Chong-wei's record as the oldest ever winner of a men's singles Super Series title. Won his first and only Super Series title at his home event in 2008. 9 years, 8 months and 25 days ago. He already holds the record as the longest time between the first and second Super Series tournament final, when of course he reached the final of the French Super Series in Paris last year. Well, look at his results. Beat the 3-time winner of the Denmark Open, the Olympic champion Chen Long, in the first round. Then he beat the defending champion Tanon Saksensumpungsak of Thailand. Then the European champion Rajiv Usif. And in the semi-final, his teammate, 2 former world #1s, and Someone Ho, of course, twice a finalist here at the Denmark Open, 2014 and last year. Came from 12-18 down in that first game, saved 2 game points before winning through in 1 hour and 32 minutes. So to the 24-year-old Srikanth Kidambi from Ravulapalam in India. Has been as high as 11 consecutive weeks from the beginning of June in 2015, but he has struggled with injury problems. He had a 4-month layoff at the beginning of the year with a fracture of his right ankle. Now he too has been pushed the full distance in the second round against Korean Jung Hyuk-jin, and that match was not 111 minutes of play. There was approximately an hour's delay during while the lights malfunctioned here in the stadium, and they had to be moved to a different court. Quarter-final, he was 1-3 down in the deciding game and then promptly won 17 of the next 18 points against the world champion Victor Axelsen, breaking the hearts of the home fans. Wong Wing Ki in the semi-final, it was 2 straight games, and I have to say he's looked more and more impressive as the tournament has progressed. He's already won the Indonesian Premier Super Series this year and the Australian Open. That was 2 Super Series titles in 2 weeks. This is the first meeting between these 2 players, so it'll be interesting to see if there's a little uncertainty in any of the tactics before they get going. I'm sure there's been homework done by the coaches and videos watched, and therefore there will be a certain game plan.
I don't think Lee Hyun-il's coach has done anything.
Of course, he doesn't have a coach with him.
Doesn't have a coach. But I'm impressed with his record in this tournament. First, beat the Olympic gold medalist. Then he beat the defending champion. Then he beat the European champion. And then he beat the top seed of the tournament. Whilst the world champion chickened out before he had a chance to beat him, he was 3-0 up in head-to-heads against the world champion. So Lee Hyun-il, don't count him out.
Absolutely
And he holds another record. The one who's retired the most time.
Yes, now that's like debate. Is it 3 times or 4 times?
I think it's only 3. But he might come back for the 2020 Olympics. I expect him to be there.
Competes as an independent player, Lee Hyun-il.
Kidambi Srikanth, India. Kidambi Srikanth to serve. Love all. Play.
So Srikanth Kidambi in his 4th Super Series tournament final this year, looking for his 3rd title. You mentioned the Olympics, Steen. This man, twice 4th in the Olympic Games. That's heartbreaking, isn't it, when you lose 2 bronze medal playoff matches. And still he battles on.
2, love.
Yeah, lovely. Well, in contesting his 4th Super Series men's singles final of the year, Srikanth Kidambi becomes only the 6th men's singles player in history to contest 4 or more Super Series finals in a year. Joins Lin Dan, Lee Chong-wei, Chen Long, Bao Chun-lai and Victor Axelsen.
3, 1.
Yeah, that's good company.
Yeah.
Good shot.
Service over. 2, 3.
Wide. Well, Lee Hyun-il is trying to become the first Korean to win a men's singles title here at the Denmark Open. The Denmark Open dates all the way back to 1935. They've won titles with players from Korea in the other 4 disciplines.
They've always had a little trouble in men's singles, the Koreans. In my opinion, had 3 really great players. That was Park Sung-woo in the mid-90s, where he reached the World Championship final in '95. And then, of course, this man, Lee Hyun and someone who we probably have to mention Hyun Sung-mo as well, also the silver medalist in 2004, runner-up to the top 50 day at the Olympics.
Athens Olympics, yeah.
But none of them have sort of dominated Super Series finals or Grand Prix finals as they were called back in the 90s there.
Yeah.
Numerous times had really, really dominant doubles combinations and gunning for the Thomas Cup title.
Service over.
Not yet successful.
4.
Well, it's a little bit of a milestone for this man today because it's his 40th career final.
He's been a very dominant figure lately on the Grand Prix Gold circuit.
5, 6.
Indeed. In fact, he's been in 14 Grand Prix Gold tournament finals, winning 8 of them.
So that's going to be interesting to see with the new tournament structure, whether there will be some incentive for doing well on that tour, like an exemption to the Premier Series, the upper level if you win.
Yeah.
Most or do better overall on the Grand Prix Gold tournaments a year or something like that. That would be interesting. That would add some spice to it.
Yeah. Nice idea. It's a bit like the golf.
5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, for instance, that if you win a Super Series tournament or a Premier tournament, then you're exempt into them for the rest of the year. We've seen here that players have won a Super Series and have to play qualifying in the next one.
Yeah. Yeah, especially happens more often in the doubles disciplines.
Because of the new combinations.
Exactly. As the winners of the Korean Super Series, Wang Ya-xiong and Yu Xiao-han won the women's doubles in Seoul and had to qualify in Japan, had to qualify here.
Service over. 6, 9.
Oh, yes. That's great control.
10, 6. 11, 6. Interval.
No, it's been a very good start by Srikanth Kidambi. Only 7 minutes to the mid-game interval. Although, coach, we were learning earlier today that he lives in Malaysia now, Lee Hyun-il.
Yeah, practicing there. And that was, he actually stays at the same hotel as we do, and he was eating breakfast at the same time as me this morning. And I actually wondered where he was practicing because I couldn't expect him to practice with the Korean team.
20 seconds.
So probably training in one of the professional clubs in Malaysia.
Eleven, 6. Play. Service over.
The thing is, when you're 37 and still in the circuit, and I believe that he started playing what was then Grand Prix tournaments when he was like 18 or something, so he's almost been around for 20 years. And that means that yeah, you've got a lot of tools in the toolbox. You've tried to play many different playing styles and knows how to try and get the most out of your competencies, so to speak, your own competencies. But he's threaded them down the lines.
Yeah.
Srikanth.
13, 7.
I have to say, though, the number of times that I've watched Lee Hyun start off a match a little bit sluggishly and yet still finds a way to come back and win.
Exactly.
Service over. Eight, 13.
That's a nice angle.
Service over.
Lee Hyun at the moment, I don't think is able to read which way
No.
the overhead shot is coming.
No.
Okay.
And they're so well placed,
8.
the overhead shots from Srikanth.
Mm. 15, 8. Sixteen, 8.
What Hyun realizes now is that he cannot leave the initiative to Srikanth. Then he's going to get outmaneuvered. The question mark is also his mind. Oh, not his mind. His age. With his age in mind, does he have the acceleration to keep Srikanth away from attacking?
18, 8.
Yes, and one also wonders about the recovery rate, because as you get older, next day you don't recover quite as quickly as you do when you were a younger age. And when you think he was on court for an hour and 32 minutes yesterday
19,
against Sun Wan Ho.
And he was asked about it by some of the Danish journalists earlier on in the tournament on how he could still keep it going now at the age of 37. He said that
20,
he preferred not to really think about the age. I mean, he just played, and as long as it went well.
Yeah, well, it's not going so well at the moment because his opponent's got a whole host of game point opportunities.
Service over. 9, 20.
Gone long. 21-10 opening game for Srikanth Kidambi in just 12 minutes of play.
21-10.
this year in his matches where he's lost 7 times. He's lost the first game and went on, and 4 out of those times he's went on to win it in 3. But this is tougher opposition than he's faced all year, in my opinion. Srikanth, finalist at Singapore Open.
Lost to Sai Praneeth, his teammate.
And then took Indonesia and Australia. Lost in the World Championships to someone who didn't do it that well in Japan and Korea, and now he's back at the final. So definitely one of the informed players.
Yeah, he withdrew from the Korean Open as the number 5 seed, and then lost in the quarterfinal of Japan, losing to Victor Axelsen, who of course went on to take the title in Tokyo.
Yeah, so probably the 2 most informed players, Srikanth and Victor Axelsen, deemed as
20 seconds.
They both won 2 of the last 5 tournaments.
Well, this is actually the second final of the year for this left-hander, Lee Hyun. His first final was at the Malaysian Masters Grand Prix Gold. And in the deciding game of that final against Eun Ka-long, managed to hit himself in the eye with his own racket and had to retire from the match. It was really quite serious.
Yeah, he was out for a while.
Yeah.
Had to withdraw from some tournaments. It's really displaying his attacking skills, Srikanth. Offset that one. The chance for Lee Hyun now is to play a lot of shots downwards and push it flat to the backhand and forehand corners of Srikanth, because whenever he gets a chance to attack the Indian player, he's just lethal.
3.
Whenever Srikanth gets the chance to attack.
Yeah. Well, I know it's early stages of this second game, but quite frankly, at the moment, Srikanth is looking in a different class.
Yeah, and especially this forehand deception, it is so good, and it's much more difficult to make deceptions in the forehand side than the backhand side. And Srikanth just has exactly the right little wiggle with the racket head that sort of bites on you, and you have to stay on the middle of the court because you think it's a long shot.
I think Lee Hyun has spent force after that semi-final. I think it's taken it all out of him.
It's unfortunately in danger of being a little bit of an anticlimactic final. And it's a pity because he's played some really great badminton throughout this tournament.
Yeah, but as you were saying earlier, you wondered how much a push-off he's going to have left in those legs. Well, I think we've got the answer already. Another little deception on the net shot from Kidambi. And even the luck with Srikanth, who apologises.
10-1.
The 11-1.
Interval.
Well, there'll be nobody more disappointed by this than Lee Hyun himself. But there's just nothing left in those legs.
No, and the good thing is that he can look back at who he's beaten in this tournament and say, hey, I know that didn't look particularly good in the final, but I earned my spot there.
Yeah, and he certainly did.
Yeah.
He certainly has. But it's looking very much like the 38-year wait for another men's singles champion from India here at the Denmark Open. It's about to come to an end. Well, the fans here in Odense really doing their best to try and lift him.
Yeah.
They want to see some more badminton. They don't want finals day to end.
It looks a little bit like 3 years ago when Victor Axelsen totally destroyed Lindan in Odense with 8 and 6. And Lindan hasn't been here ever since. So,
Yes, Lindan was the number 3 seed this year, but withdrew before the start of play. Oh. Yeah. Good defence off the left hip from the left-hander.
3-12.
Yes.
it's a fantastic shot.
You were saying earlier that he was threading them down the lines. He's continued to do so.
3.
Missed it.
14-3.
Well, barring some sort of catastrophic incident,
15.
we're going to have the 5 titles going to players from 5 different nations, because it's looking very much as if Srikanth Kidambi will win this match. Heaven forbid that there would be some sort of catastrophic incident. And if Srikanth does win, it will be the 4th time this year that the 5 titles go to players from 5 different nations. It happened at the All England, it happened in India, and it happened at the last of the Super Series events, Japan. And it will only be the 13th time in the 11th year of the Super Series that has happened. 5 titles to 5 different nations. Badminton is getting more and more diverse with more and more strong countries.
Yes, it's not that many years ago since we said, okay, China was dominating everything and so on. That's not the case. They didn't win a title this year at the World Junior Championships. They won 1 title here through their men's doubles, but other countries are catching up.
Yeah.
I think China will always be a factor in badminton, but it's good to see that other countries are stepping up. We've seen small signs of it here that other European countries is also starting to move forward. So we've seen a late bloomer, Rajivusa, becoming the European champion.
18-5.
Three points away from his 3rd Super Series title this year.
19.
Well, I don't have this stat in front of me, but I'm guessing this is probably the most one-sided men's singles final in the history of the Super Series. Match points.
20, match point 5.
We've only had 24 minutes of the match.
Yeah, there's nothing left.
No. First time of asking. And Srikanth Kidambi wins his 3rd Super Series title of the year. 21-10, 21-5 in just 25 minutes.
21-10, 21-5.
Well, he becomes the 2nd player from India, following in the footsteps of Saina Nehwal in the women's singles to win 3 Super Series titles in a year. And we've still got 3 Super Series tournaments to come, plus the Super Series finals. Who's to say he won't win more titles yet?
Yeah, he will go to France as a favorite.
Yeah. Superb performance throughout the week here from Srikanth Kidambi. Confirmation of the scoreline, 21-10, 21-5. Well, it's a bit of a disappointment. You just said anticlimax.
Yeah.
And it is, because we've had such great finals up until this men's singles. It's a real shame, and I feel for Lee Hyun, because he just didn't have the energy. There was nothing left in the legs.
Yeah, it would have been better to play earlier and end with either the women's singles or men's doubles, but who could knew that?
Yeah,
Who could know that?
exactly. Well, he's had a marvellous week, but he was a spent force today.
Denmark Open, presented by
I think any other player in World Badminton has to be on top form to beat Srikanth Kidambi the way he's playing at the moment. A 3rd Super Series title of the year, to add to those won in Jakarta and Sydney.
President of Badminton Denmark. Czech mascot and MetLife Award are presented by Mr. Jenny Den Lee, Chairman of Victor Sport.
Well, not only a third Super Series title this year, it's a fifth in total. First, the China Premier Super Series in 2014. Then his home event in 2015. Had a barren year last year because of injury troubles, but a third title now in 2017.
Ladies and gentlemen, please give a big hand for your medalist at the Danisa Denmark Open, presented by Victor, 2017.
Well, he returns to the top of the Super Series standings, Srikanth Kidambi.
There will now be a short interview with the winner.
Congratulations, Kidambi. What an odd final. What kind of an experience was this?
Definitely, it's a good game. I think he must have been tired after yesterday's long match. And yeah, I'm really happy with the way I played today. And thanks to everyone for supporting me so much throughout the week. It's been a fantastic week for me so far. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to coming back again next year and then defend this title for sure. And thank you so much, everyone, for being so kind to me. Thanks.
Do you feel sorry for Lionel going into this final and not having any energy at all?
I expected it to be a much better one because he definitely has that experience of turning matches after losing the first game for sure. So I was really tensed. I was after winning the first game so easily, I still wanted to keep that focus going on in the second game, and I think. My game really did well for me. My attack was going perfectly, so I'm really happy with the way it went for me.
Earlier this year, you won the Indonesia Open, and you won the week after. Now you won here in Denmark. You see where I'm going? French Open next week. Are you the big favorite?
I'm really, and I'm not really thinking of winning there directly because it's really tough after. Following tournaments are really tough, and I really want to play well there. Start off, I really want to win my first round first there. That's all important for me now.
Thank you so much. Congratulations.
Thank you for joining us today's finals.
Well, it's been a fantastic week here in Odense, and the first four finals today were sensational. The three doubles titles going to pairs winning their first Super Series title as a pair. And it all started with women's doubles, with Lee So-hee and Shin Sung-chan beating Tanaka and Yonemoto in 2 straight games. Then in the mixed doubles, the two left-handers, Tang Chung-man and Si Yoon-siet. Si has, of course, won a Super Series before. That was in the women's doubles. But Tang, in his first ever Super Series tournament final, with his mixed doubles partner, they were down in the opening game. They were 18-20 down. They came back to win that 24-22. They were 16-20 down in the deciding game. They had to save 5 match points before they finally closed it out 23-21 against the world number 1 Zheng Shiwei and Cheng Ching Cheng. Then in the women's singles, Ratchanok Intanon's weight and drought of Super Series titles, 18 months since she won her last, has won a 6th Super Series title here today. coming from a game down against last year's champion Akane Yamaguchi. In fact, in that deciding game, she was 9-14 down and 16-19 down before winning 5 straight points to close it out, 21-19. Men's doubles, well, it had all the trappings of a great match because we had the world champions Liu Cheng and Zhang Nang against the world number 1s Gideon and Sukamolio. In fact, the world champions from China had 2 match points in that second game but couldn't convert. But they did in the decider, 21-19, thereby winning their first Super Series title as a pair. And then in the men's singles, well, sadly, Lee Hyun-il, the oldest ever finalist in a Super Series men's singles tournament, just had nothing left after his hour and 35-minute semi-final against teammate Sung Wan-ho. Srikanth Kidambi therefore winning his 3rd Super Series title of the year, his 5th in total. So it's been a great week here. The Super Series moves on to France next week. We will have coverage from the quarterfinals onwards, so that's the 27th till the 29th. From Steen Peterson, myself, Jill Clark, and all of us here in Odense, as the Danes say, farvel, bye-bye.